And I'm Maya Shpak. I'm the CEO of SkyPath for the last few years, and I'm loving it.
Hey Maya, welcome to the Pilot podcast.
Hey Justin, great to be here tonight.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on. I have one I want to fangirl a little bit because fanboy doesn't sound as good, so I'll say fangirl. But SkyPath has been a really cool app that I have, and a lot of airline pilots in my former life at NetJets have had the opportunity to use. Like I said, fangirl a little bit, just how easy it is to use, the presentation of the data. And my favorite part is when I can see if I'm going to spill my coffee or not, because the airline pilots and the pilots, that's the most important thing, right? Do I need a top for my coffee? Should I drink it later? But I wanted to start off by say thank you for everything you do for that app, because it's really cool. And it's really awesome just to see new technology enter aviation. And what you can do with an iPad and the chips inside is crazy and something that we never thought we'd have. So, we'll dig deeper into SkyPath in a little bit. I want to start with you. I want to start with Maya and aviation and kind of talk about why you even got interested in aviation, how you ended up where you are now, and kind of start from the beginning about initial love of flying and aviation.
Perfect. I think it's a great start. So, Justin, I've started my aviation career as I won't say teenager, but I'm living in Israel. In Israel, where all of us are going to the army. Some of us are going to infantry. Some of us to the Air Force. And as a child, as a grown up, I was really interested on what you may call military flying. Most of my friends were going to do some tests for becoming a military pilot. And I decided to try and nominate myself to the flight academy here. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about aviation back then. No one from my family, it wasn't a family thing. No one of my acquaintance was a pilot. But, it basically something that, I had some attraction to it, or I was attracted to it since I was young. Was drafted to the Air Force, went through the flight academy, which I'm currently flying there as an instructor, finished the flight academy as a combat helicopter pilot. And I think, that I'm emotionally invested in aviation since that point, more or less. That is one of my favorite things, flying.
Yeah.
It never stopped exciting me. Like every time is like the first time. This is something I'm trying to teach my students, to actually enjoy and love flying, even when it's tough and challenging, really to open the eyes and enjoy it. So, and I have the privilege to do it, even now, like 20 something years after that. So
that's awesome.
As
we had a previous conversation a couple of weeks ago, and you mentioned something that you love helicopters. You are a helicopter girl, and you love helicopters so much. Do you have an experience in fixed wing versus helicopters, or is most of your time just in helicopters?
So I have to say that most of my time is helicopters. This is my proficiency. This is what I know. This is not what I know best. I do have, some or a few flight hours on fixed wings, mostly, basically just regular GA planes like 172 or stuff like this, mostly for fun, which is, it's fun. But, I would say that's not more than a few dozens of hours. Not, I have thousands of flight hours in helicopters. So, it's not comparable at all. And it's not the same. Some of it are similar, some of it is different. But yeah, most of it is helicopter flying.
Yeah. What do you love about helicopter flying?
I think that the best thing in it, in my own perspective, is the ability, and this is something that is common to GA as well, the ability to really enjoy seeing the landscape, feeling close to Earth, the ability to fly low and really connect with, the scenery and all of that. And this is something that is common to GA as well, because most of, again, in my experience, most of GA flight is VFR anyway. So, it's very, very different from commercial flying and IFR flying. So, in that sense, it's similar. I love the fact that you can basically land anywhere. It's kind of a hike that you're doing. This is also something that it's true. This is also something that is neat. So if you want to land and open a bottle of, I don't know, coffee or tea or anything like that, that could happen, which is also really nice. Taking all of this experience into a road trip or something that you can, actually divide into pieces. It's not about, having the necessity to depart and land in an airfield, which frames the entire experience, or an airfield at the end. So this is also something that is differing from fixed wing, I guess. I think this is the most of it, and also, but this is also something that is quite common. It's different from maybe, what I'm remembering from combat flying, but, the fact that it's a team, you're doing it together, but that's also, in commercial flying and GA, I really love the fact, that you are at least two people in my own experience. By the way, I know that helicopter flying in the States is sometimes, or in a way, commercial helicopter flying sometimes a single pilot operation, but mostly where I fly is a team of two, which is also something that is really nice, and I really love working, as a team. So this is also something that I think is representing my emotions around that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to work as a team. I've flown single pilot IFR and some, and a Pilatus PC-12, a Cessna Caravan flying freight around. It's a heavy workload. So it's nice to have it divvy up, and it's nice to count on someone that is qualified and trained and can be a second set of eyes, because I'm sure even in a helicopter, it's like, the power line's kind of close. And you're like, oh yeah, those are kind of close. All right, well, let's stop the center. You just have someone else to help you out, which is awesome. For me in helicopters, I've never been in a helicopter. I'm sure once I got in, I would like it, but to me, they just don't make sense. Like obviously, like I'm used to having a propeller on the front, engines that propel you forward. And I know you can kind of go forward in a helicopter too, but the whole hovering, I think if I was just hovering in a helicopter, I would feel really uncomfortable, because I'm like, how are we staying here?
But, when you think about the physics of it, it actually, in my mind, makes more sense than fixed wing. Because you basically control your own lift and drag. You have the ability to actually control it. With no correlation to I don't know, to speed or those constraints that you have on a fixed wing. And it's the same concept, of creating lift on a wing, but as a standalone. So, that is the, maybe in a very, very high level, the story of helicopters, trying to simplify it to our listeners' audience. But that's that is how I teach that, and how I see that, When,
another thing that when I was flying my previous company, I remember I was flying somewhere randomly in the United States, and there's a helicopter doing pattern work, and all of a sudden I look out of my corner of my eye, and I just see it like dropping from the sky. And the guy was flying, I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing auto rotations. So I was like, that looks terrifying from the outside. What's it like inside a helicopter when you're preparing for auto rotations, preparing for simulated engine failures? I'm guessing as an instructor, it's got to be quite fun, but I'm also guessing your first time in a helicopter, it's got to be quite nerve-wracking to try to manage that energy.
That is correct. So again, it really depends if you're flying a single engine or dual engine helicopter. But let's assume that you're trained, and most of the training helicopters are single engine. Even in commercial aviation, you'll train on an R44 or an R22, which is a single engine, or if you're going for the for the largest helicopters, again, as a student, you probably will go to one of the Bell 505 or 4. So those are all single engine helicopters. So you have to master your way in auto rotation, and and as you say, it's an acquired capability, and also the inner feeling around that is becoming less and less scary. But I have to tell you that first time someone actually, closed the throttle and demonstrated an actual auto rotation with, where you see the engine needles goes down and you hear the horn. That's terrifying. I have to be honest. But when you understand, to take it to the more of a professional, and this is how we teach that, when you understand that, if you understand what you need to do with the potential and the energy, the helicopter is flying, it's flying. You can fly it till the ground. You just need to understand, where you maintain your energy and what kind of maneuvers will kill the energy. And in that case, you're in a problem, So the way we teach it that is that we don't actually close the throttle all the way. We basically, close it to the point where the engine can recover if you do the procedure in a way that is basically wasting the energy, and you don't have any energy to finish the procedure. This is more or less how you train with it. But it's, for helicopter pilots, it's a common training. It's like, it's like training in landing. How many landings did you do? 1,000?
1,000,000.
Exactly.
So many. Yeah.
Exactly. So, in helicopter, I probably did 1,000,000 auto rotations,
Yeah.
That's part of the routine.
What personally was something that was hard for you in helicopter flying? Was there anything you struggled with particularly? Was it just a lot of fun and you just kind of put your head down and worked as hard as you could? Kind of talk about anything that you struggled with, or there are things that you even liked about the training?
It's funny because I think that, when you're a student, it doesn't matter if you're trained as a soldier, or as a civilian. I think that whenever you train, also in a fixed wing, you don't have a lot of bandwidth, to enjoy the process. You're so much invested in the process, and it's so much challenging. Everything seems so challenging. Whereas, now, as when I have more perspective, I'm saying it wasn't that bad. It was just, stressful and challenging. And there was so much things you had to learn, the theoretical part and the technical part and the flying part. I don't know if I really enjoyed that back then. Now I enjoy every minute of it,
Yeah.
Even the let's say the more complex or difficult parts of training, which you always need to train about. You're never too good to train, in my opinion. It's you're never too experienced to actually train your skills and maintain your skills and maintain your professional ability to fly this thing. It doesn't matter if it's a helicopter or a fixed wing. I really believe that it's a profession. It's not something that you're doing on the way. If you want to be able to fly a bird of any kind, you need to be able to understand that that's going to be something that is part of your, I would say, normal routine, because you have to maintain your skills and your edge, and your knowledge. So in that sense, now I enjoy it very, very much. And to your question, Justin, I think that the most challenging thing I had to do was formation flying at night, which is really challenging. Yeah. I think, if you look at the tip of, let's say the tip of the things that I had to do would be formation at night. We're using night flying goggles in order to do that. That was, of course, part of my military training and not my commercial flying, though I miss that. I wouldn't mind flying information in commercial flying, but that was really something. Although, again, in a certain point, after extensive training, that becomes part of your standard routine, like flying weather or whatever pilot needs to be qualified to flying something, that was the normal routine. But
yeah, so flying helicopters for you, is it strictly military? Was there some commercial flying you did as well, or kind of where is the experience post-military, or what you're doing right now?
So when I departed from the military, probably 13 or 14 years ago, I still I kept, and I'm still flying in reserves. As I told you, I'm teaching the flight academy, but that's the Air Force Flight Academy as a reserve pilot. This is something that we do, most of us, part of our reserve service.
Is there like a dream helicopter that you'd like to buy? One that you could have personally, fly around, or is that in the hopes and dreams of kind of Maya, either now or in a couple of years?
So I would say that it wasn't, when I finished flight academy, it wasn't that common. It wasn't that common that female pilots finish the flight academy here in where I live. And in my specific class, there were two of us, two out of, 50, two female helicopter pilots, which is really rare, that two female helicopter pilots will finish the academy in the same class. We're still in great relationship. And we had, I guess we have dreams since we were 20, to have a jet ranger. It's not something very, just a jet ranger. That's all.
Yeah.
Without doors, because it's like like a cabriolet jet ranger. Yeah. There is a model like that, flying around here, just, having fun. So probably my first private helicopter is going to be a jet ranger. That's the plan.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it happen. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
yeah. I'll call you, Justin. I'll call you and invite you to fly with me.
Let's do it. That'd be awesome. My first helicopter ride.
That would be amazing.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, talking about just women in aviation. I don't remember the exact percentage, but in the United States, I think it's something as low as 6% or 8% of all pilots are females. What can we do to get more girls in aviation? Because it's not a guy's job, right? Anyone can do this job. Anyone can be trained to do this, fly airplanes, do it confidently, make tough decisions. What can we do more? I think Instagram, I think social media has really helped to just show that girls do this as well, and having younger girls look up to them. But what else can we do?
I think, the magic lies with educate, educate from a young age. It's not necessarily female, flying. It's so many things, in our society, basically demonstrate whoever is listening that, there is a limit, but, most of the things we're doing are not limited to one gender specifically, and it's a social thing. We need to educate the generation that, at least women can dare dreaming or can dare doing stuff that, in a way they may not believe they're able to do, and at least try. So whenever someone is asking me, Justin, and of course you're not the first one that popped this question, I always say, because that's something that goes with me since, that there been 20 years, more than 20 years since I finished flight academy. We were the first helicopter female pilots here where I live. That was a thing. And we always, I'm saying you need to educate women, that they can dare doing whatever they like. And if they'll be consistent, and if they'll be determined, and if they'll be good, because you need to be good. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or girl. they will make it.
Yeah.
That's my at least that's my message.
I agree. I totally agree. So I can't say it better myself. All right,
Thank you.
let's get a little bit into kind of SkyPath and how you got to SkyPath. You mentioned that you got involved with OEMs, heads-up displays, some other cool stuff with manufacturers. Was SkyPath more of a headhunting thing? Was it something that you saw somewhere, friends, and were just like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like the idea of a startup. So talk a little bit about that.
So I've been with, I would say, corporate industry for a while. That back then it was 2019, and I was actually looking for something else. It wasn't very specific, but I was, looking for something that is not that corporate, not that huge, a way to make more impact, on the overall process and not necessarily on the limited scope of work that I'm doing. I'm sure and that was really the early days of SkyPath. SkyPath was founded, as I mentioned, SkyPath was born as an idea in the mind of an airline commercial pilot, captain and line check airman, that was seeking for a solution to the turbulence problem. And while he was looking at the charts in the iPad, basically trying to figure out if it was a real-time issue, the turbulence that he's encountering is actually in the chart somewhere. He had kind of an idea that if he's looking at the iPad to figure out how to deal with the problem, he may be able to use that to create a solution for the problem. And it was really early days, and they were looking, but he was an airline pilot, he had work. He couldn't be completely devoted to founding this or pursuing this idea. And all of the founders of this company had what we call a day job, or most of them at least. So they were looking for help, to take this idea to the next level, to actually mature the product. And they were seeking for someone with an aviation background, as I told you, that knows his way in aviation and management, but is also a pilot. May I remind you that. And this specific joke will go with us probably a long time in the company. And they found me, and they asked me to come for an interview. And I, as an aviator fan, I listened to the idea, which was really the baseline of what we're doing now, not even the baseline. And I told them, listen, I think it's, wow, I think it's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea. It's basically, and again, I don't know if the audience is familiar with what we're doing. We may want to maybe elaborate about that a bit, but it's like Waze for turbulence. That was my initial thought about that. And I thought that if it's going to work, it would be amazing. Harnessing the part of the crowd, the pilots, everything that's flying an airplane with an iPad, to create a global map of clear turbulence, most clear turbulence, not necessarily. It's something else. And I joined them, and all the rest, as we say, is history, I guess.
When the airline pilots, when we look at SkyPath and see, the beautiful app that it is today, the information's presented really clearly. How many iterations has it taken to get to where we are today? Because obviously we see the final product. We don't see kind of A, B, C, D, E, What was, what's the differences, I guess, between what you started out with when you got hired versus where we are now?
If I would show you the early stage, you won't even recognize or say, okay, that's SkyPath app. No, we started with an MVP. We've hired someone to basically just put things on an app, and we gave, the way we created SkyPath algorithm is that we utilized all of our pilot friends to fly with this MVP and write on a note whenever they encounter turbulence what their presumed intensity of or the severity of the turbulence, and we started to measure and compare notes and the accelerometer signals that we got from the app. That was the early beginning. We tried to put our hand on how we can determine that something is actually turbulence, and that cost us or doesn't, but it took us probably thousands of fly hours, and 3 years of development to get the algorithm right. From that point, although we are continuously improving it and using all the data that we have to continue and refine it and tweak it, there's a lot of, we normalize the turbulence intensity per aircraft type. So whenever we have a new model, a new aircraft type joining and NetJet, by the way, was really a challenge because, most of our customers are airlines flying, they have a range of aircraft, but, most of them are pretty obvious, the 320s, the 73s, the 777, 78s, more or less that range, the ATR, the Embraers, but that's more of it, more or less the types. And then NetJet joined in and there's a diversity of airplane types and sizes and wingspans. And, we did a lot of work and which was very good for us to refine what we are doing for each and every aircraft type, but it also gave us a lot of confidence and experience on the process, on our approach to doing so. So now to add another aircraft type to the system is much easier for us because we understand more or less what needs to be done in order to do it right. But the app it's something else. And by the way, I want to tell you that it's also changing as we speak. We have a new version coming out next month, which also...
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure you're going to recognize it completely after we launch this version also.
That's awesome. So. I'm looking forward to it. One thing I think is really cool, and this kind of relates to anyone starting something, right? Like SkyPath was just an idea, right? It was just some pilots that had an idea, just like any pilot can have an idea, but the idea has an action, and the action is trying to figure out how to do it. And in this case, they just went to their buddies and essentially were like, hey, let's mark down what your turbulence actually was, and then we'll kind of record the oscillations that we have. I think you said MPV, is that what you said you used? And then
yes.
we'll compare it. And then you get the data, which creates the algorithm. And obviously you need some really smart people. Most pilots don't have the ability to do that, right? I mean, maybe they did, but me, I'd be like, oh, there's data. Okay, cool.
Same
I don't know
here.
what to do with it. But you get really smart people to kind of analyze it and be like, all right, well, we see trends based on what we're comparing, and we feel confident to label this as light, moderate, severe, whatever it may be, and create an algorithm for that. Which is amazing, but it's just cool that it all started as just an idea between pilots, and ones that happen in cockpits all the time. You're like, this would be really cool. And it's like, all right, well, just try and do it, figure it out. So I think that's really cool that they're able to just come up with an idea and actually make it happen, because that doesn't happen very often.
I agree. The courage to take an idea, and actually take action, execute it. It's really awesome. I really appreciate it. And you were saying about, people having an idea and doing this smart thing. And it made me think, at the end, I think that our most precious assets in the company are the team, the people that are building the product, the people that are running the algorithms, the people that improving the model. And those guys in SkyPath are, they're literally an A-team, they're doing marvelous work in customer support and trying to fulfill all the, the new ideas that we have or our customers have sometimes. And that's, I think that's our huge asset, the people that are in the background, and they're great.
What's been the most difficult part about helping build this company and getting it started and getting it rolling?
I think it's still a bit difficult. I think that, although I've been with this aviation industry for some time now, at the end, and I'm saying it as part of this industry is extreme, I won't say maybe traditional, but, it's really difficult to present new ideas, to the aviation industry, innovative ideas. And we get why safety is number one priority of this industry, and everything that is presented, needs to take a consideration on how it's going to affect safety. We can do anything. We're trying to enhance safety, but, on the other hand, we can't embrace anything that for some reason would, harm the delicate balance of maintaining safety in this industry. So the most difficult thing, I think, in the beginning was basically educating the industry or presenting the industry the concept of learning about turbulence from an iPad device, a commercial off-the-shelf iPad device, and also to make them share, although, anonymously, make them share their data, because when we initiated the idea of crowdsourcing, of sharing observation between airlines, as one that works in an airline, you probably know that the data of an airline is something that needs to be kept, within the airline. And we came with an idea, and we say, but you have valuable data that can help other airlines, and other airlines has valuable data that can help you. So if we'll all share what we call SkyPath observation, the reporting of the iPad, and you're gonna be an aircraft that is following another airline's aircraft, you're gonna get value from their reporting and vice versa. I think that when we pass this point, and again, Justin, I just to be very, very clear, everything is anonymous. There's nothing, that amplify on who's flying the aircraft or anything like this. It's basically general information that is common in Flight Radar 24, plus turbulence report, which is, related to a specific geolocation. Most of the time, because we aggregate those reports, that could be a turbulence report that is made out of 6, 7, 10, 30 different aircraft that is aggregated into a single tile in space and time. And no one knows what exactly is the aircraft that reported that, because, it's a specific geolocation. So when we pass that point where I won't say convinced, but when we got to the point that the airline embraced the fact that if they share information, they'll also get information, So if you're flying for example, to Thailand, and, Thailand is covered with reports that are made by a Thai airline, and you have a lot of information on the way to Thailand and around the water bodies around Thailand, so you can gain from their information. And when a Thai airline is coming to the US, they can gain from your domestic flights and from your information. That was the idea. And I think that was the most difficult part. When we passed this point, it became much easier to implement the idea and the concept.
Yeah, aviation, the way you explained it in the beginning, aviation seems like a pretty hard industry to break into as a newcomer, especially when there's such big traditional names that have, whether it's EFBs, whether it's just contracts with airlines, relationships, just starting as a new company, starting as a new brand, and presenting a new idea can probably be pretty intimidating. And I'm sure airlines are like, we already work with someone. But then they're like, no, wait. See what we're doing. It's different. This is something you don't have. Turbulence is bad. We can help you avoid it. And they're like, oh, wow, that looks cool. Yeah. Okay, this makes sense. So I'm guessing just convincing that first airline to say yes, which was probably just amazing when they finally said yes, or multiple airlines, was definitely had to be pretty difficult. But you guys, it seems like to me, almost everyone uses it in the airline world, or including NetJets and that as well. So you've done a great job at convincing them and showing them that your product is worth using.
Yeah, I would say that most of the US major carriers are using that, which is great because, for the smaller ones that are using that, they have a very good starting point on initial coverage, so if you look at United, which were a first customer, for example, they were the first one.
Oh, really?
They were highly invested in turbulence mitigation, and I think that they found what we're doing as innovative. They were always early on embracing innovative technology, and given some room to those kind of concepts. So they were really a great launch customer, and they helped us perfect what we're doing, within time. So a lot of what you're seeing now inside the application are actually requests that were made by the pilots. We enable, I don't know if you've seen that, but we enable direct feedback from the app to our product team. And every feedback is registered as a ticket, which someone in the product team is looking at and figure out whether it's a good idea. And if it's a good idea, sometimes we implement that as part of our next version. So many things, many improvements that you see on the app right now are of course also, suggested by other customers, but the initial progress was made by the extensive support, and backing from United, which was amazing.
What exactly is it using in the iPad to help with the algorithm? Is it an accelerometer? Is it a chip? What is it registering to match with the algorithm inside the iPad itself?
So the technology relies on the accelerometers that resides in the iPad itself. I think that, what is actually patented, what actually counts as the algorithm is our ability to actually differentiate between what is essentially turbulence and what is a tapping or shaking or dropping the iPad, or writing an email. It's not only, we're not only looking at the independent iPad. So if we have two iPads in the airplane, we will compare those, on the server level, and we'll figure out if they're reporting the same. And if not, there's a way that the algorithm states what would be the correct report, let's say. So we mesh those reports, we filter out noise or but at the end, we're using whatever is provided within the iPad. And I think that is, what is so exciting in this technology, because you're not required to install anything on the mainframe. You're not required to buy any additional hardware and install and integrate any additional hardware. And you have the ability, if you're looking at mass scale, we also have microfleets and single and private aviators that are using the service. But if you're looking at mass scale, you have the ability to deploy technology with the entire fleet within a day, and that is something that was never done within this industry. I've never seen technology that were implemented within a day on an entire fleet, and this is one of the advantages, that it doesn't require any additional effort from the customer. There's always effort, there's training, and, there's paperwork, but I'm saying if you're looking from a, installation and maintenance perspective, that's really easy for the customer, and that's really nice, that's maybe the tour I've been taking from this, head-up displays and this complicated design assurance level 8 technology, which I was dealing with, which, was challenging in terms of installation and implementation to what we are doing right now. So I also appreciate the difference between those two technologies resides on the same aircraft.
Yeah. When was it realized that an iPad had that capability? Was it always kind of like a hope that the iPad would be able to do it? was it kind of right when the idea was born? I know you mentioned using different equipment for it, but when did the iPad kind of come in with it? Was it a certain year, generation, or did it always have the capability?
I would say I'm not sure we had a clue, it was a journey. For now, we're completely confident in that. And also, we're generating machine learning prediction or AI predictions of turbulence based on the data that we take out of the iPads, which is the next level of what we're doing, because we complement the observations with forecasting that is made not in a physical or not in a completely physical meteorological way, but is done with machine learning technologies that we embraced in the last few years. But at the beginning, we had a lot of doubts. And I think that only, you hope it's going to do whatever you expected it to do, and whatever the test and the statistics and the trials that you took, you hope the technology will prove that it's working. I think in a certain point when we started flying with United, which was our launch customer, we already understood that the technology is working, but it still took us some time to refine the algorithm in terms of severity. We knew it's recognizing turbulence in a good manner. We knew that we're close by to the severity. But, the normalization per aircraft type and really, putting the finger on the right intensity of turbulence took us, we need more data. We needed more data to validate what we are doing. And also, Jesse, I don't know if you remember, but I was saying I joined the company in 2019. What happened in 2020 is that COVID hits and it shut down most of the flights in the world. So it was a year after we started, and we basically had a shutdown of the entire industry, which was also a journey. It was also challenging, continue doing and maintaining this operation and developing the product when nobody is flying. So basically you can test your assumptions, as you were saying, if it works or not. But it's a good product. There are a few smart people behind it that did great job.
That's what it takes. Me. Yeah. It takes a whole village. Yeah. It takes a lot of people to put together an awesome product. Yeah.
True.
It's cool. Like United, I'm guessing with United, it was more or less you guys reaching out to them. And I'm guessing now you're having airlines reach out to you, which has to be kind of a different feeling, right? Like it's got to feel better. You're like, oh, wow, this is cool. We got like a backlog of airlines are trying to upload and or unload. Just the differences in that, and a young company, right? Like 2019, and you're talking about when you came on, like it's pretty cool to see how quick it's been implemented, how the idea has kind of taken fruition and where it is now. And I think it'd be really cool if you guys could ever show off like the differences of what the versions look like and just show how much strides have been done and what is going to come. As you said, there's going to be another launch here soon. So I look forward to seeing that one as well. I got a couple more questions. One, I mean, you can kind of, this is about future SkyPath. So you don't have to give away everything, but there's a lot of pilots that don't ever make it to the airlines. There's a lot of pilots that don't make it to corporate, that make it to fractional, where turbulence is a big deal. There's a lot of pilots that are married to husbands or wives that don't like turbulence and don't want to fly in small planes because of turbulence. And I could see a place where this could be very valuable to smaller airplanes, 172s, SR-22s, Bonanzas. I mean, any plane lower than a private jet or even all the private jets, right? So is the future going to focus on GA as well? Is it going to be more airline tailored? Do you guys have a plan for that or anything?
So currently, most of what you're doing is, and then I'm saying most of what you're doing is around BA and commercial flying, because we have a lot of data in those altitudes to support the users, whether it's observational or predicted. There's really good coverage to support that. On the lower altitudes, for GA mostly, and the VFR flying mostly, not necessarily, I would say that we still have the technology supported because we have the prediction capability that is tailored to what we're doing, and there is an ability, I think that there is an ability to access and acquire the service for our website. I'm not saying I'm thinking, I know, most of the single operators that are flying with us, that they did their own onboarding, they went to the website, they decided what kind of package they're tailoring, and then they're using the application. I think that GA most definitely can value what we're doing, because again, when you are flying something that is a bit more light and smaller, sometimes the impact it's much more severe. I think that since again we're a young company, as you mentioned, we just didn't have the bandwidth to educate the GA industry and to reach out to all of those pilots and to explain to them what kind of benefits our service is bringing, I wish we had more bandwidth to do that, and we can, harness the GA industry to use it as well, because, at the end, we are trying to enhance safety. This is the service. This is what we're trying to do. So yes, to your question, yeah, I believe that SkyPath can leverage those pilots, of course.
As someone who's listening to this and is like, oh, wow, I had no idea this was an option. I had no idea that I could do this, whether they're flying a Bonanza or their own jet. Where could they go? You mentioned your website. Is there app store? Kind of talk them through how to download, how to get, what they need to do in order to have this capability.
So the easiest way would be to type in skypath.io and reach out to the website, and basically learn on what we're doing from the website. It's really user friendly. There's videos and all the packages and a simple self onboarding. After someone decides, and I didn't mention, but there's also a free trial for a month, so someone can start using the service for a month. Then basically decide it doesn't want to use it or it doesn't see the value in it, and basically drop out. So it's not a long-lasting commitment. We really believe in the value we're bringing, so we enable everybody to basically try it before they acquire the service. After he gained after he's basically doing the self-onboarding, the application is available in the App Store. Basically type in SkyPath, download it from the App Store. And in order to get a user and a password, he needs to do the self-onboarding in the skypath.io website. But the app is in the App Store, so just, downloading it and that's it. It's, I don't know, simple as Spotify, I guess.
I love it.
The same idea.
Spotify is crazy easy to use, so that's a good way to put it, right? Yeah.
Good example you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Maya, that's really all I have for you. If there's anything I missed and you want to touch on, we can talk about that as well. But as I said earlier, SkyPath has been great. One thing that I mentioned before is just how easy it is to use. I mean, I hardly ever need to type in my airline, my flight number. It's like, hey, are you on this? And it's like, yeah, that is me. You click OK, then your route's uploaded. It tells you if it's going to be a calm flight, moderate turbulence, or you're going to spill your coffee, or a rough ride. And then just having that data to help make decisions, right? It's another tool that pilots can use to help make the flight as smooth and as good and as fast as possible. So kudos to your team. Kudos to you. Kudos to the people that had the idea. It's great to talk to you and share this idea, because I know, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, it's just some people don't even know about the app. So just getting it out there away from just the airlines and NetJets and fractional and opening up to everyone that this is an option. I think it's going to be really cool to see how it can be used. And I can't wait to see future iterations and to see what's next. Thank you.
Appreciate you invited me. I really enjoyed our conversation. That was really eye-opening.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.